Assalamu alaikum everyone, it's me Aisha from Pakord episode 53, back again wishing you all a blessed and happy Pakistani Independence Day. Jashan-e-Azadi Mubarak. On this beautiful and historical day, I want to shed light on why this day means so much to me and why it should to you perhaps. Every year for this day, whether I am in Karachi or Toronto, I start looking for the perfect jorda to wear on 12 August. So the perfect clothes to wear on the 14th of August. And I want the perfect green and white clothes to show my pride when I go to a mela, mehfil, or a parade celebrating this day. Now, from Dil Dil Pakistan by Vital Signs to Hame Pyar Hai Pakistan Se by Atif Aslam, there's always something special about listening to these patriotic songs on this day growing up. And growing up, sometimes people have asked me and they wonder why the 14th of August means so much to me. You know, I don't come from a distinct Pakistani culture. I'm not Punjabi, Balochi, Hyderabadi, Sindhi. My ancestors were Pathan, and some say that I still am, but to be honest, my family doesn't have that culture today. You know, that was something 100, 200 years ago. You know, I talked a little bit about that the last time I was here on Pakord. But today I want to talk about why the 14th of August is something I can celebrate. So here's why. Now, I come from a family that's traveled from modern-day India to modern-day Pakistan, and today these people make about roughly 7% of Pakistan's population, with most hailing from Karachi. Characteristically, we are known as Urdu-speaking, as it's our mother tongue, and others in Pakistan include Punjabi, Sindhi, Pashto, Balochi, many others. And as a group, as a whole, we're Mahajar, migrant. So many people I've come to find don't know that. Many Pakistani people and many people who come from Mahajar families even, they don't know this. And I didn't until a few years ago. That age of migration was a very bloody era on both sides of the border. Families torn apart, there's corpse-ridden trucks, trains full of dead bodies arriving in both India and Pakistan as sent from the other border. The struggles pre-partition and post-partition are so strongly felt by those migrants, my great-grandparents for example, that they have such a hard time conveying their childhood stories to their descendants, like me. I've also read recently that a lot of them have PTSD, and that makes sense. It was a very war-torn time. It's been 3 years since my grandmother uncovered all this for me, the hole in my family's history. And she made sure to do so after my grandfather passed in 2017. So yes, it hurts when people sometimes joke about partition or say things like, I'm not truly Pakistani, when Pakistan feels just like home to me. It's like they treat it as something you forget, something that is avoided when we celebrate this day. And the greatest harm for me was finding out more, because it only hurts to know what happened on both sides. Hindus, Sikhs, Muslims, all caught in a storm where there wasn't water falling, but just bloody rain. And to this day, I can never hold back my tears when reading an article or watching a documentary about partition. Because I decided to dig deeper and find out more, even when my parents warned me against it. So today we celebrate the country we've become, but also remember the history and the struggles it took for us to get to this point. The bloodshed, the lives lost, the people who gave their very jaan, their life for this. And I ask, if you care, do you know where you come from? Can you fathom the struggles of those before you, and with the hand of faith and by the will of God, you are in your place today? I'm just in awe at how everything came to be, so I could be smiling with a flag in my hand in Canada on August 14th. When I hold that green and white flag in my hand, I'm reminded that it represents what my family and many others sought refuge in. And see, I can't help but extend that pride I have to celebrate this day and to extend to others who are not Pakistani and who celebrate other days for their nations. What does that symbol, that flag, your parents or your flag or your grandparents' flag, mean to you today? And ultimately, yes, many lives were lost before and after 1947, and only few lived to tell their story today. 73 years, Pakistan as we know it today. 73 years it has been on this earth. Many holes were dug as unnamed graves were buried, and today, as we Pakistanis rejoice and celebrate, I can't help but extend our concerns for our brothers and sisters, specifically in Kashmir. A very close conflict. Kashmir has been in lockdown now for over a year. And in another 70 years or so, those generational effects will 100% be felt in Kashmir by the Kashmiri people, regardless of religion, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of language. Why I reiterate what happened 70 years ago is because history is repeating itself. No country is bad, no creed is bad, but there are bad actions taken by people God knows to be evil or not. There are bad beliefs that fuel hate, and there is so much ignorance. So I ask, even as we celebrate today, please do not turn a blind eye to Kashmir. Don't turn a blind eye anywhere. Don't stop talking about it. Don't let these movements die, and don't let history repeat itself another time. And on a final note, as I got older, I realized something. Soni Dharti may have been written as a patriotic song for Pakistan, and no one can erase its presence on this planet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will inshallah keep it abad, full of people, love and life till the end of time. But I like to also think that Dharti means earth, every land, every nation, every people. So what I like to think is, may we see you free as long as the world lasts, O beautiful earth. May God keep you forever happy. जब तक है ये दुनिया बाकी हम देखें आजाद तुझे हम देखें आजाद सोनी धरती अल्लाह रखे कदम कदम आबाद तुझे कदम कदम आबाद जश्न आज़ादी मुबारक everyone. Assalamu alaikum.
When we think about Pakistan, there's two people that come into mind. And those two people had a very profound impact on the world, not just for the founding of Pakistan, but just in general to show people that, if you have a vision, you can accomplish whatever you want. But it always comes at a price. When we think about the founding of Pakistan, two people come into mind. Those two people are Muhammad Ali Jinnah and Allama Iqbal, right? When I look at Muhammad Ali Jinnah, I just recently saw the movie Jinnah, and I see a man with a vision. I see somebody that has a vision and that would do anything possible to actually accomplish his vision. Whether that's even, cutting ties with his daughter and, just making some changes within his personal life, they'll do it. And, those type of people come in like only once in a generation because they're just so committed to a goal and they're so committed to a vision that all they do is just eat, breathe, and sleep that vision. And it's so amazing to see that, we can find these people and then we can actually, just rally behind them and they just produce something so special. And that is Pakistan. Same goes with Allama Iqbal. Allama Iqbal, he had a dream. Unfortunately, he didn't get to see his dream get fulfilled in real life because he passed away before the founding of Pakistan. But, just to see how ideas are just created and how ideas are just, brought to fruition by people. They don't sleep till the job gets done. It's always amazing to see stuff like this. And it's always amazing to actually be a part of it, because I do have family members who remember the partition, who actually have been through the partition, who actually migrated from India to Pakistan. And, it's always great to hear stories like that. It's always very special to hear that your own family has been a part of the partition. When you talk about Pakistan, especially if you're living abroad, you talk about a lot of different ideas, different things, and we always talk about what do you love about Pakistan most? What do you miss about Pakistan most while living abroad? What I love about Pakistan most is the hospitality that our people give for us overseas Pakistanis whenever we go to Pakistan, and the hospitality that we receive, and the love that we receive. It's always amazing. And the one thing that you never get in a Western country or in any other country, the one thing you never get is, sitting on a rooftop, enjoying mangoes with your family members and just, not having a thing to worry about in the world. That is what makes every single trip to Pakistan special. That family time you spend, that's the thing you miss most when you leave Pakistan and go to live abroad. And if you're living abroad and you're missing about Pakistan, that's the one main thing you miss about Pakistan. Just the camaraderie, just the apnayat that you get from your own people, your own family members. It's that cannot be replicated in any other country except Pakistan. You're sitting on a rooftop, you're enjoying the mangoes and not caring about anything else in the world because only that matters. Only that thing matters. Mangoes, chai, biscuit, pani usko dabo, chai ke andar rakhao. That is just an amazing feeling. And I'm sure every single Pakistani has witnessed that. And, if they're living in Pakistan, you get to experience that every single day. And people that are living in Pakistan, they may take that for granted. You appreciate those things more when you go live abroad. That is never replicated in a Western country. And you only get that feeling once you're in Pakistan. And it's an amazing feeling. And, that is one thing I just love about my Pakistani identity is just that the hospitality that we give to our people. What we stand for faith, unity, and discipline. And, I just hope that one day we can actually live up to those ideals. And, I actually get to see why it's so special every single time, unfortunately, because every time I watch these historical videos about Pakistan and the founding of Pakistan, and what Qaeda-e-Azam stood for, what Pakistan stood for: freedom of religion. The Medina Riyasat. When Imran Khan talks about Medina Riyasat, that's what Pakistan is. It's always amazing to actually see all of it and just reminisce it every single time 12 August comes around, and just live it again. And I've actually celebrated 12 August in Pakistan. It's probably the most amazing things I've ever done, one of the most funnest things I've ever done. Just that passion you see in people, just the excitement and the happiness, it never can be replicated. And I do believe Pakistan has a bright future, despite all the the negative news that we get sometimes in the press. But we do have a bright future. It's just a matter of making sure that we have a platform within Pakistan that can elevate our people, because our people have a lot of talent, and that talent always sometimes unfortunately goes abroad. And when that talent goes abroad, we see people get so much success. We have seen people get so much success in Pakistan as well, but also abroad when they go abroad, like such as in the UK and North America. We've seen all that success. A lot of times, there's so much talent in Pakistan that sometimes they don't have platforms to actually elevate their talents and show their talents to the world. Even if we're living abroad as overseas Pakistanis, we always have our homelands back, and we always love our homeland, and we will do everything to make sure our homeland is fine. And that's why we have a bright future. I believe we have a bright future because we also have a very bright prime minister after a very long time. So it may take some time for us to actually see some of those good results, but the future is bright. We just need to believe. Pakistan Zindabad, Pakistan Paindabad. اے میرے پیارے وطن پاک وطن پاک وطن اے میرے پیارے وطن اے وطن پیارے وطن پاک وطن پاک وطن اے میرے پیارے وطن اے وطن پاک وطن پاک وطن پاک وطن.
یار میں 3 چیزوں کے بارے میں بات کروں گا جو پاکستان میں پائی جاتی ہیں اور میرے خیال سے دنیا میں اور کہیں نہیں پائی جائیں گی. اف یو آر اے پاکستانی دیٹ از. تو سب سے پہلی چیز از سیکیورٹی. اب دیٹس اے بٹ کنٹروورشل. آپ بولیں گے او پاکستان میں تو سیکیورٹی نہیں ہے, یہ ہو جاتا ہے وہ ہو جاتا ہے. اس معاملے کی سیکیورٹی نہیں, سیکیورٹی آف مائنڈ, سیکیورٹی آف یور ریلیجن. when I was in the UK, I completed my bachelor's from there. تو وہاں پہ آپ کو شاید یاد ہوگا مینچسٹر میں بومنگ ہوئی تھی اراؤنڈ 3-4 years ago. when that incident occurred نا, ہم لوگ ویسے ہی وہ ویکلی جاتے تھے, ادھر لوکل ایک مسجد ہوتی تھی وہاں پیدل جاتے تھے. تو جب وہاں ہم جاتے تھے ہر ہفتے نماز پڑھنے, تو the week that incident occurred, the next week میں مسجد نہیں گیا because I was living in such a state of fear کہ یار میرے ساتھ کچھ ہو نہ جائے. بے شک اس طرح ہونا نہیں چاہیے تھا ڈر, لیکن اس وقت تھا کہ یار یہ میری زمین بھی نہیں ہے ادھر, کے لوگ سمجھیں گے بھی نہیں, پتہ نہیں کس طرح ریئیکٹ کر رہے ہیں آل دس. میں پھر یہ جب واپس آیا ہوں تو میں نے اللہ کا یہ شکر کیا کہ یار میں سجدہ سکون میں کر سکتا ہوں بغیر خوف کے. بغیر خوف کے آپ یقین کریں سجدہ نہ کر سکے, I never thought I would experience this. تو اللہ کا یہ شکر ہے کہ ادھر آپ بلا خوف اپنی یہ ٹیمپلز وغیرہ جا سکتے ہیں, یا آپ اپنے مسجد جا سکتے ہیں, آپ اپنے گرودوارے جا سکتے ہیں کہ بھائی آپ کی ہی زمین ہے, آپ ادھر کے ہی ہیں, تو آپ کو کوئی خوف نہیں ہونا چاہیے. The second thing is یہاں کی زمین. اب یہ سی بات میں آ جاتی کہ اپنی ہی زمین پہ آپ سجدہ کر سکتے ہیں بغیر خوف کے, لیکن ادھر کی زمین کی ایک خاصیت ہے. اب میرے گھر میں لیچی کا درخت ہے, آڑو کا درخت ہے, مالٹوں کے وہ لگائے ہوئے ہیں پودے, درخت وہ بن ہی جائیں گے ایونچولی. ہم نے لیموں کے پودے لگائے ہوئے ہیں, وہ بھی بن جائیں گے درخت. ہم نے ماشاء اللہ سیب کے لگائے ہوئے ہیں, کینو کے لگائے ہوئے ہیں, اینڈ آلوچوں کے لگائے ہوئے ہیں, آلو بخارے کے لگائے ہوئے ہیں, اینڈ ابھی ہم نے وہ دھنیا بھی لگائی ہوئی ہے, ٹماٹر بھی لگائے ہوئے ہیں, ہم نے ہری مرچی بھی لگائی ہوئی ہیں. اینڈ بلیو می اٹس ناٹ لائک وی ہیو ڈیسنٹ اسپیس ان دا ہاؤس, لیکن اٹس ناٹ اے لاٹ ایز کمپیئر ٹو مطلب جو آپ باہر دیکھیں گے. الحمد للہ آپ اس زمین کی یہ خاصیت دیکھیں کہ یہاں پہ کچھ بھی آپ لگائیں اٹ ول اسٹارٹ گروئنگ. ہمارے پاس الحمد للہ ایلوویرا, کیکٹس, ایوری تھنگ از گروئنگ, اینڈ تو ماشاء اللہ اٹ از سو فرٹائل. I get a lot of envious messages from a lot of people in Europe. میرے فرینڈس تھے تو وہ کہتے ہیں کہ یار آپ لوگ تو گھر میں ہی ساری چیزیں بنا رہے ہو, ہم لوگوں کو مارکیٹ جانا پڑتا ہے یہ ساری چیزیں لینے کے لیے. میں کہتا ہوں یار دیکھ لو یہی فائدہ ہو رہا ہے. In Pakistan, alhamdulillah, you can grow anything over here. We're blessed with the 5 beautiful rivers. And the third thing I want to talk about is your sense of identity. اگر آپ کو کوئی ملتا ہے جو کہے کہ یار میں پاکستانی نہیں ہوں, یو لک ایٹ ہم ویئرڈ, یو نو, یار تم پاکستانی نہیں ہو, لگتے تو پاکستانی ہو, بولے نہیں میں برٹش ہوں, نہیں میں کینیڈین ہوں, او بھائی تم پاکستانی ہو. ٹھیک ہے, اٹ فیلز ویئرڈ, اٹ فیلز آؤٹ آف پلیس نا, کہ یار یہ بندہ کو اس کو ہوا کیا ہے. خیر لیٹس ناٹ ڈویل آن دیٹ, لیکن آپ یہ دیکھیں کہ آر پاکستانی پیپل, وی آر ویری پراؤڈ آف آور ہیریٹیج, وی آر ویری پراؤڈ آف آور آئیڈینٹی. کسی آپ بڑے شہر میں آپ جائیں, اینی ویئر ان دا ورلڈ, always see like a Pakistani society, a Pakistani masjid, anything, because alhamdulillah we are everywhere. We're the fifth or sixth biggest nation in the world already. So yes, we should never discount ourselves. And یہ میں آپ کو ایک چیز بتاؤں, it's a very interesting fact because I crunched the numbers the other day. So Pakistan represents 2% of the global population, and we know as a fact 60% of all Pakistanis, they are below the age of 30. So that means 1% of the global population is just Pakistani youth. تو آپ اندازہ لگائیں ایک تو ہماری تعداد and our capabilities, what we can achieve. Happy 14th of August everyone, and inshallah اللہ آپ کے رستے آسان فرمائے, آمین.
تیرا پاکستان ہے یہ میرا پاکستان ہے, اس پہ دل قربان, اس پہ جان بھی قربان ہے, وہ اس پہ دل قربان, اس پہ جان بھی.
The thing that I love most about Pakistan is actually the people of Pakistan, Pakistanis themselves. اگر دیکھا جائے تو پاکستان از ناٹ ریئلی اے ویری رچ کنٹری, تو یہاں پر پرابلمس کی ریشو بھی کمپیریٹیولی زیادہ ہوتی ہے. وی ہیو ٹو فیس مور پرابلمس آن ڈیلی بیسس. لیکن ہمارے یہاں کے جو لوگ ہیں وہ بہت زیادہ ریزیلینٹ ہیں, اس سینس میں کہ خوش رہنے کی کوئی نہ کوئی وجہ ڈھونڈ ہی لیتے ہیں, چاہے جتنے بھی ہمارے ورس حالات بھی ہوں, جس پہ باہر کی دنیا جو ہے they're like oh my god اتنا کچھ ہو گیا ہے, وہاں پہ پاکستانی پھر بھی کوئی نہ کوئی چل رہنے کا طریقہ ڈھونڈ ہی رہتے ہیں. ایون دو اٹس لائک کہ اگر صبح کوئی مسئلہ ہوا ہے تو شام کو جو اس پہ پوری میمز بن رہی ہیں اور ہیومر کانٹینٹ سوشل میڈیا پہ آپ کو ہر جگہ نظر آئے گا. چھوٹے چھوٹے جو ہمارے پاس ایکسکیوزز ہوتے ہیں خوشیاں منانے کے, پاکستانیز میک شیور دے ڈونٹ لیٹ اٹ گو. فار ایگزامپل a lot of people object on this کہ پاکستان میں تو جی جس طرح اگر ویڈنگ سیلیبریشن ہے وہ اتنی زیادہ انہوں نے ہائپ اپ کر کے منانے ہیں, یا پہلے ایک مہندی کا پھر بارات کا, اینڈ there are so many functions. لیکن اگر دیکھا جائے تو they all are just a kind of excuses کہ اتنی ہی زیادہ آپ کی خوشی منانے کے جو طریقے ہیں وہ زیادہ ہیں. پاکستانیوں کا جو ڈپریشن ریٹ ہے وہ ایز کمپیئر ٹو ویسٹرن ورلڈ کافی کم ہے. یہاں پر بھی ہے ڈپریشن آف کورس, لیکن یہاں پر جس کے ریٹ ہیں وہ کم ہیں. انفیکٹ ہمارے تو پرائم منسٹر بھی یہی کہتے ہیں کہ جو بھی ہو جائے آپ نے گھبرانا نہیں ہے. سو بہت ہی چل رہتی ہے. آئی نو لاٹ آف پیپل سے کہ پاکستانی ڈھیٹ بہت ہیں, بٹ اندر ٹرم فار دیٹ وڈ بی ریزیلینس بہت زیادہ ہے کہ جتنا مرضی کچھ ہو جائے ہم لوگ گیو اپ نہیں کرتے. وی آلویز فائنڈ اے وے ٹو میک تھنگس ہیپن دا وے وی وانٹ. تو جو بھی چیز نہیں ہو رہی ہوتی تو اس کے لیے ہم کوئی جگاڑ کر لیتے ہیں کہ وہ ہو جائے. اینڈ دس ایٹیٹیوڈ دیٹ آئی ایم ٹاکنگ اباؤٹ, یہ صرف کسی ایک اسپیسیفک کلاس کے لیے نہیں ہے کہ صرف اپر کلاس میں یا صرف لوور کلاس میں ہے. یہ ہر کلاس میں پاکستانیز کی آپ کو ملے گا. اپر کلاس ہو, اپر مڈل کلاس ہو, لوور کلاس ہو, ان سب میں یہ کامن ٹریٹ ہے کہ چاہے جتنے بھی اسکریوڈ اپ ہوں وہ ان کے اوپر مطلب یوزلی ان کے چہرے پہ ایک اسمائل ہوتی ہے. اور کچھ لوگ ہوتے ہیں جو اس سچویشن میں بھی سلور لائننگ جو ہے اس کو دیکھ رہے ہوتے ہیں. اینڈ آئی نو کہ اس ایٹیٹیوڈ میں بھی کچھ نہ کچھ ماڈیفیکیشنس کی ضرورت ہے, لیکن اوور آل دس از دی ایٹیٹیوڈ جو کہ نیشنس کو جتنے بھی ان کے بیڈ ٹائمز ہوتے ہیں ان میں سے گزارنے میں جو ہیلپ آؤٹ کرتا ہے وہ یہی ہے کہ جو لائٹ ایٹ دی اینڈ آف ٹنل ہے اس کو دیکھ رہے ہوتے ہیں بیسیکلی. Another fact that I love about Pakistanis is that Pakistanis are one of the most friendliest people as well as hospitable. اور اس کی سب سے کامن ایگزامپل از لائک یور دیسی موم شاؤٹنگ ایٹ یو وین دا گیسٹ آر ایٹ ڈور کہ مہمان آ گئے ہیں, جلدی سے یہ چیزیں اٹھاؤ, جلدی سے یہ چیزیں لے کر آؤ, جو فریج میں سب سے اچھا پڑا ہوا ہے, جو ڈیزرٹ ہے سب کچھ لے کر آؤ, رکھو ان کے آگے. इवन अगर आप उसको नहीं जानते हो, आपके खाला के मामू के चाचे का बेटा भी हो, यू डोंट नो दैट पर्सन, लेकिन फिर भी उसके लिए जितना कुछ है वो सब कुछ प्रेजेंट करना एंड गिविंग द utmost importance to them. So this is the fact. Even I was listening to your podcast जो कुछ दिनों पहले आई गेस डैना के साथ आपने रिकॉर्ड किया था, जिसमें वो बता रही थी कि उसका पाकिस्तान के साथ एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा. सो दिस इज ट्रू कि जब तक आप पाकिस्तान में आकर उस चीज़ को एक्सपीरियंस करते हो, ओनली देन यू कैन टेल कि कितनी हॉस्पिटेबिलिटी ज़्यादा है. Another thing that I like most about Pakistan is of course the northern areas, everything, the beauty, और उसके अलावा Pakistani dramas. This is one of my guilty pleasures. Pakistani dramas, at least the story is realistic and you kind of get to know the Pakistani taste and culture in it, even if you are like miles away from your country. If you're just watching a Pakistani drama or even a trailer of it, that actually kind of takes you back to Pakistan और उसका essence आपको feel होता है. So the next time you are complaining about Pakistan, रिमेंबर दिस थिंग कि कोई भी कंट्री या कोई भी चीज़ जो है वो परफेक्ट नहीं होती. हर चीज़ के अपने प्रोज एंड कॉन्स होते हैं. हर जगह पे कुछ ना कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स होती हैं, अप्स एंड डाउन्स होते हैं. एटलीस्ट दिस इज़ अ कंट्री जहाँ पे यू बिलोंग ट्रूली, और कोई आपको ये नहीं कह सकता कि आप इमिग्रेंट हो. कोई कह के तो दिखाए. दिस इज़ द कंट्री जो कि आपको हमेशा ओपन आर्म्स से वेलकम करता है, एंड इट्स योर ड्यूटी टू पे बैक इन वट एवर वे यू कैन. जिस तरह भी आप कर सकते हैं, मेक श्योर टू ऑलवेज रिमेंबर, इवन इफ इट्स जस्ट इन योर प्रेयर्स.
"73 years ago, Pakistan and India awoke to life and freedom following 2 centuries of oppression at the hands of the British. 53 years ago, my father was born. 43 years ago, he migrated to the UK. And 18 years ago, I was born on British soil. So what does Pakistan mean to me? As a British Pakistani who has spent the majority of his life living in Britain, going to a British school, speaking with a British accent, and living a life free of load shedding, it is fair to say that I have very little practical connection to the land of Pakistan. However, if it were not for Pakistan, my way of life would not exist. You see, the 14th of August 1947 didn't just change the subcontinent, it changed the world. The establishment of Pakistan was a declaration. It was a middle finger to the British saying that your time is up and we've come to take back what is ours. It was a statement that we are here and we are human. It was the breaking of shackles so that I, the child of immigrants, could hold my head up high instead of bowed down in servitude to European masters. It afforded me the dignity to walk on British streets on equal footing with my white British counterparts. It gave me the basic human rights that we so often take for granted. It was only 3 generations back that my great-grandfather was an imperial subject. And here I am, in the land of his oppressor, sticking it to the white man. Independence did not just give sovereignty to a land 6,000 kilometers away, it gave sovereignty to people. It granted people the ability to write their own destinies. So again, what does Pakistan mean to me? To me, Pakistan means freedom.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. What does Pakistan mean to me? As a kid, I had this sort of identity crisis. I didn't know where I belonged. Living overseas, you always hang out with the local Indian community, the local Southern Asian community, and I tried to blend in with them, but for some reason, I was never accepted and never felt comfortable, always felt out of place. And, they look down on Pakistanis over there. It's always been that way. And they looked at me as if I was inferior to them. They made fun of my culture, my language, and I would hide the fact that I'm from Pakistan sometimes just to avoid all the hazing and the insults and stuff. This went on a long time until I was watching TV one day. It was 14th August and I saw the ceremony at Wagah border, when they hoist the flag and everyone's clapping and screaming. And when I saw that, I realized that I belong to a free country. I come from a place where I will be accepted and nobody will make fun of me. That's my culture. And this is something to be proud of. It gave me a sense of belonging, and alhamdulillah, that was the day that my identity crisis ended. I realized that I belong to a free, independent, and powerful Muslim nation. And this was something to be proud of. So, for the first time, I was proud of who I was. Alhamdulillah for this nation. I am so, so grateful to Allah Ta'ala that I was born in Karachi, Pakistan. It's definitely something to be proud of. And people who looked down at me back then for being Pakistani, because you try to blend in with these people because you want to have a group of friends. You need to have somebody socially. And that was the pressure that I had. Being a Pakistani, they'd make fun of me. I didn't really have that many Pakistani friends. I actually didn't have any Pakistani friends. So this was very, very important for me, the day that I realized that I belong to a great nation. And two things contributed to this, obviously, the Independence Day ceremony and reading the life of Qaeda Azam, rahmatullahi alayh. So, alhamdulillah, for Pakistan, I am so, so proud to belong to this country. Pakistan Zindabad.
Hello and salam to the Backward universe. I'm Talha from the Bay Area, California. I just wanted to share a little Independence Day tidbit from my past. So years ago, I went to Karachi, Pakistan, where my family is from. The main purpose for going back was to attend a family shadi, but coincidentally, I was also there during August 14th. And I was a bit confused, I remember, because people were celebrating outside on the TV. I saw like buses with flags on it and colored green. And also like same thing with other vehicles, all sorts of decorations everywhere. Even my family was celebrating. I think that was probably my first Independence Day experience, both physically being there and like in my mind, if that makes sense. I also don't know why my family didn't tell me either. They probably assumed that I already knew because it's such a big day. But I think sometimes when you grow up in a country outside, like for me in the US, you subconsciously ignore things like that, like holidays of other countries. And my mind just never went there, I think. Even though I'm Pakistani American, I was just in my own present, I suppose. I remember realizing to myself, oh yeah, of course Pakistan has an Independence Day, just like the U.S. has their own Independence Day. Can't believe I didn't realize that. It's just funny to me how my mind had just totally not considered that possibility and the celebrations that come with it. Pretty much up until then, my view of celebrations in Pakistan were that there were two Eids, and that was literally the only days of celebration in Pakistan. When I think back on this, it's kind of funny and a good reminder to myself that we all have, our particular viewpoints and biases to consider. Anyway, I really hope the experience of Independence Day is good, and I hope to experience that myself once again someday, and other celebrations there, and happy Independence Day.
The things that I love about Pakistan. If I didn't have those summer trips in my childhood to Pakistan, I may not have had anything to say and anything to be fond of. In those trips, I remember being amazed at the colorful and immensely decorated trucks, taking walks to the dhaba near the house for some imli and churan. Our relatives lived in the valley, and it would often be windy, so I enjoyed being on the chat and laying on the charpai and just soaking in the sun. This was also different than the US. The trucks are plain here with some logo. There are convenience stores that don't have the same rustic vibes, and rooftops are not at all common, but instead backyard havens are abundant. One of my most favorite things about Pakistan is the evolving fashion of traditional clothes. Many countries have forsaken their traditional clothing for more modern and Western styles. I greatly admire Pakistanis for keeping their culture alive and active. Those trips to Pakistan allowed me to see and experience at least some of the country and the people. It gave me perspective, and I'm grateful for that. Being Pakistani will always be part of my identity, and it's the little things that make it great.
So yeah, this is Ikram from Islamabad, speaking from Islamabad, Pakistan, and I am a full-time university student, and my majors are in mechanical engineering. Starting from my childhood, I remember we used to decorate the whole streets with my friends, hanging treasure rows of those small flags that we used to call jandiyan in Pakistan. So we used to paste on poles and everywhere near our homes and stuff. Then we used to buy some fireworks and patakhas and some badges and stuff. Yeah. So, and also buying one big flag to fix that with a grill on our roof. So yeah, the most fun part was to burn those fireworks, cause my grandpa or dad used to yell us like all the time. You do the extreme clinking sound, and it was like kind of dangerous. And they were like, "Don't do this," and "Oh, bagair to na hi kam kare karo," and mere sir ch awaaz pendi hai and para jaake buru and stuff. So yeah, that was the like most fun part of that era. So but as we all grown up, and all the small things that we used to do, and they just vanish. So as an adult these days, I usually wear a green kurta and shalwar, and I very often, like not very often, but yeah, I just don't feel good wearing shalwar. Means so, but that doesn't mean I'm a burger, okay? So I go to some malls with my brother and for some outing, and yeah, just to have some good time with him. And in the end, it's not about like always celebrating that we have this gift of independence and that's enough for us. Instead of that, we should cash that potential that we have given and use this independence to grow into a better nation worldwide. Thank you all. Allah Hafiz.
चलता रहे ये कारवां दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा जा पाकिस्तान दिल दिल पाकिस्तान जा जा पाकिस्तान
When I went about to start this podcast, I had a choice on what the podcast would be about. I wanted it to be about identity. Well, I had a choice there too. Growing up in America, I've had Indian and Bangladeshi and Nepali friends and acquaintances. In fact, I've had more Indian friends than Pakistani friends throughout my life. I just never lived around a lot of Pakistani people. The podcast could very well be about South Asian culture. That's an attribute that all of us from these countries have in common, of course. Lots of Pakistanis living here in the US often mix in with the rest of the South Asian diaspora to have a greater support system. There's not many of us to begin with. And that's a beautiful thing, and often necessary, because when we unite, we become a bigger voice here. But it didn't seem fulfilling to me to create a podcast broadly about South Asians. There was a gap. The problem is that there's already ample content out there that is geared towards a broad South Asian market. And that inevitably becomes more Indian than anything because the population of Indians is much greater than Pakistanis. In my case, I wanted the Pakistani identity to shine. We need more platforms, I thought. There's not enough focus on content that is specifically for Pakistanis, especially those living abroad. The goal is to have a podcast that emphasizes a Pakistani identity and brings young Pakistanis together from all around the world to a central place where we can connect, share our issues, and feel a sense of comfort by knowing that we are not alone. We would discuss issues that are specific to Pakistanis and the Pakistani diaspora. So I started a Pakistani podcast. Over the last 60 plus episodes, I interviewed people from not only America, Canada, UK, and of course Pakistan, but also from Hong Kong, Spain, France, Germany, Malaysia, and soon with a few in African countries as well. It's been extremely fun hearing these stories from people in vastly different places and yet being able to relate to them. That is what excites me about this podcast. Before I started this podcast, I started a Pakistani Discord server in early 2017. This wasn't to fulfill any kind of mission. In fact, Discord is not entirely useful. It's very time draining, so I wasn't expecting much out of it. Still, when I made this server, I called it simply Pakistan, because there was no other major Pakistan-focused Discord at the time. Little did I know that the server would grow, become a fun little community, and give rise to the idea of the podcast someday, a few years later. By the way, that server today is still highly active, though it's turned into a bunch of teenagers doing pundi and begertiyan. Too much for me to handle, so I don't hang out there as much anymore. But what can you say? It's Discord. Our first several episodes featured guests directly from that Discord server. But we're now at a point where we've expanded beyond that. And most of our guests now come from our community of listeners and our outreach. And I love the support that I've gotten from listeners while doing this podcast. Every week I get very positive emails and messages from Pakistani people all over the world, and even non-Pakistanis, in fact, saying how much they love to tune in because they can relate to the guests and to the content so much. And I always tell them, thank the guests because they are the backbone of this, what makes this podcast so exciting. I would have never been able to run this podcast if it was just about me rambling on for 30, 40 minutes. I don't think I'm that exciting. I'm just happy to have people come on the podcast and have them share their lives with us. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that this podcast could be about young Pakistani generations. It's truly created its own distinct vibe, and thanks to this network of online friends that we have all made through Instagram or Discord, I'm able to celebrate August 14th in a very unconventional way through the internet. Listening to Azadi songs on YouTube, Jeeve Pakistan, Ye Watan Tumhara Hai, talking to online friends on voice chats, we do what we can, and it works out. This August 14th, I would like to speak a little bit further on identity. It's hard enough for many of us being raised abroad to cope with a brown or Desi identity. Having a Pakistani identity, I think, is even trickier. Specifically, I get asked numerous times where I'm from, and my answer is always Pakistani. And then countless times I've gotten a response similar to, oh, so you're Indian. Or, oh, so it's the same thing as Indians. But I feel a shade of ignorance in that statement. And it's not like it's offensive for us to associate with Indians. No, we know that we have a very strong cultural connection with India. We didn't always have these borders between us. I've mentioned this before, that it's not like Pakistan just landed from the sky in 1947. People lived on that land, on that Pakistani soil before 1947 as well, and we inherited their culture. This isn't about separating us from them. In fact, we recognize the great similarities that we have between Pakistanis and Indians, including our love for food, music, cricket, and much more. For me, it's about not being discarded as, oh, you're just another person from that part of the world. If a non-Desi American person tells me we're the same, I ask them, do you think Americans and Canadians are the same? Both countries are majority Caucasian, speak the same language, and celebrate the same holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day. Yet many Americans take offense to being lumped in with Canadians, and I'm sure Canadians feel the same way. People often try to group all Asian countries, China, Japan, Korea, into the same bucket. They'll often say things like, oh, they look similar, which greatly exposes either their ignorance or their racism, whatever it is. But just like how Koreans can easily tell themselves apart from Japanese, Pakistanis can usually tell each other apart from Indians. The subtle differences are quite easily visible to us in our clothing, our languages, and a better eye for identifying our ethnic groups. Yes, we have shared ethnic groups like Punjabis and Muhajirs, but after 73 years, even those have become more distinguishable. These things are subconscious now, but confirm that indeed we do have a distinct identity. And then there's non-overlapping ethnicities, Sindhis, Pashtuns, Balochis. Rather than grouping us into as few categories as possible for your convenience, why not spend time learning about us and our cultures? For example, India itself is full of so many different and diverse cultures that it ought to be studied in its deepest depths. Similarly, Pakistan has its own cultures and distinct attributes, and they're all worthy of being understood as well. But, to be fair, it's not entirely their fault for not knowing our cultures better and not being able to tell them apart. Perhaps we Pakistanis haven't done a good enough job to emphasize our identity, and it's time to change that now. That we're not just brown people, not just South Asians. We're not just a handful of people you saw on the news headlines reflecting a negative image of our country. We are Pakistanis. In the words of Quaid-e-Azam, there is no power on earth that can undo Pakistan. I would add to that there's no power on earth that will erase your identity. It may be lost on many of us. We may be confused and dumbfounded of who we are. Hell, many of us can't even say a word of Urdu. But as long as we live, this identity will stay with us. Think about that. Next time someone asks you, where are you from? Even if you were born in the US, Canada, UK, or any other country outside of Pakistan, I'm sure you get asked that question a lot. Where are you from? You might answer, I'm from right here. I was born in New York City. No. Where are you really from? Where are your parents from? They won't budge until you answer it differently. How many of us have avoided answering that question straightforwardly? I am from Pakistan. How hard is it to say that? Say it with pride. If you say it with confidence and self-respect, they will respect you. I know that from experience. And lastly, another homework assignment for us. Perhaps, can be to first learn about our own cultures, learn about the Balochis, Sindhis, Kashmiris, Muhajirs, Pashtuns, Baltis, and Punjabis, and all the other great ethnic groups living in this great country. Then learn about the other cultures. This is not about separating each other. Again, I want to emphasize that this is not about separating each other, but uniting each other through appreciation and knowledge of our languages, our values, and lifestyles. This is the excitement of anthropology, a subject I deeply, deeply admire. The study of people and their cultures. It empowers us. It increases harmony and decreases divides. The solution is not to paint everybody with a broad brush. Learn about all of them. Appreciate that diversity. It's fascinating. Azadi Mubarak and happy 14 August. Pakistan, Zindabad.
पाकिस्तानी हम तो जीतेंगे हाँ जीतेंगे हम हैं पाकिस्तानी हम तो जीतेंगे हाँ जीतेंगे हर मैदान में हर तूफान में हर मुश्किल में जीतेंगे हर मैदान में हर तूफान में हर मुश्किल में जीतेंगे